What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 3 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Friday, September 27th. I'm your host, Zach Malamud. Before we get into anything today, please subscribe below, give us the thumbs up, follow all of my social accounts, Instagram, Twitter, as well as TikTok, and let's get into a lot of the New York sports news from the last 24 hours or so. And we have to start off with the New York Yankees in the world of baseball as they wrap up the AL East with a 10-1 victory over the Baltimore Orioles yesterday on Thursday. And the Yankees obviously dropped the first 2 games of the series as they go into this one and knock off the Orioles 10-1. I mean, everything about the Yankees in this one was basically fight back from the 2 days before, where Baltimore pretty much cleaned up on the Yankees. Not so much on Tuesday, but more on Wednesday. They were really able to get at the Yankees starting pitching. Clark Schmidt started on Tuesday. Marcus Stroman started on Wednesday. But the Yankees, coming off those 2 losses, motivated to celebrate in front of their home crowd, especially against their rival team in the AL East. And the Baltimore Orioles have been very close to the Yankees all year long, pushing the Yankees each and every series. Actually have more wins against the Yankees throughout the season, but the Yankees had the motivation to beat up on the Orioles yesterday and finish off this 3-game set strong. Corbin Burnes was on the mound, and Garrett Cole, yes, was pitching for the Yankees, but Corbin Burnes, possibly the number one, definitely the number one for the Baltimore Orioles heading into the postseason, and the Yankees made it look easy. It started off with Giancarlo Stanton with a home run to left field. Then the Yankees were able to clean things up in the 4th inning, in the 6th inning, where, I mean, just got runners on base, were able to really get to Corbin Burnes, and they figured out a way to get by him. And a bunch of walks for the Yankees in this one. Stanton ends up getting the big bases clearing doubles to center with 3 runs scoring. I mean, 5-0 Yankees at that point. You knew it was probably over for Baltimore. Just no way for them to come back in this one. Aaron Judge adds to the party, a 2-run shot in the 7th. How about number 58 for Aaron Judge so far this season? An unbelievable season, trying to repeat what he did back in 2022. Probably not going to get there in terms of the home run mark, but I mean, nonetheless, what a season for Aaron Judge, and looking to add to that as the Yankees head into the postseason. But everything I feel like about this game as well speaks to Garrett Cole and the big moment, stepping up. There's been some moments in his Yankee career where he's gotten the raw end of the stick, really, from Yankee fans, as big game after big game hasn't always come out with the best result. But this one, big game, needed to come up big in front of the home crowd to clinch the AL East. He was rock solid. 6 2/3, 2 hits allowed, no earned runs, 5 Ks, 1 walk. I mean, that's typical Garrett Cole. 101 pitches, and he absolutely outschooled his guy on the other end, Corbin Burnes. So you look at it for the Yankees, they're able to get this victory, 8 hits in the end to Baltimore 7. And Baltimore, even though they put up a lot of hits in the game, it just didn't turn into runs for them. They finally got a run in the 9th inning as they tried to chip away at that Yankee bullpen. They hit a sac fly in the top of the 9th to make it 10-1. But at that point, it was all Yankees throughout the day. And I think another talking point for the Yankees in the last couple of days has been the left fielder. And Jason Dominguez comes in. Alex Verdugo plays yesterday, or comes in yesterday to pinch hit for Dominguez. And Aaron Boone has a real tough decision on his hands. Does he go with the power and the batting skills of Jason Dominguez, which, by the way, he has not shown so far? He's only batting 191. Yes, he has the 2 homers on the road trip, but 191 is not good enough in your lineup if you're heading into the postseason. Alex Verdugo, on the other hand, gets the home run last night. Maybe a bit of confidence coming in for Alex Verdugo, who, yes, he has struggled in the last bit of time in the batter's box, but fielding wise, you can just see the difference between a guy like Verdugo and Dominguez. Dominguez, yes, traditionally a center fielder, and the Yankees play him in left, of course, with Judge in center and Soto in right. But if you're not going to put a player in his best possible position, you're going to see the mistakes, and that's what's happened with Jason Dominguez so far. I feel like if you put Alex Verdugo in there for fielding and you kind of deal with what he's having at the plate, there's going to be ups and downs no matter what. I feel like it's just a little bit too early right now for Jason Dominguez, and you can kind of tell if they had him up on the Yankees roster earlier in the season and then switch to Alex Verdugo, or we're just going back and forth. But now Jason Dominguez comes in later in the year, and it's time for playoffs, and you don't want a young kid being unsettled on the roster when it comes to postseason time. So I would not be surprised if he ends up getting sent down or not included on the playoff roster, and it's Verdugo as well as Trent Grisham who the Yankees will have there for defense. And it just comes down to the batting skills are there for Jason Dominguez. They just have not been great in this last couple of weeks. And going into the playoffs, you need every single batter to give you just a little bit of something. And I think Verdugo can do that, plus the fielding over a guy like Dominguez. But the Yankees clinched the AL East the 21st time that they are AL East champs. But let's move into this next series, heading into a 3-game set against the Pirates. Yankees against the Pirates takes place tonight, 7:05 start. It's Rodon against Jared Jones for the Pirates. So looking at it for the Yankees, Rodon probably going to be one of the 3 starting pitchers for the Yankees in the postseason, as the Yankees usually are. They're probably going to pick their top 3. And how it looks right now, it's got to be Luis Gil with Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, with Cole obviously the ace at the top. I think for Rodon, it's just building on this. They're going against the Pirates team that's long been eliminated from postseason contention. Just finish out the season strong. Don't give your opponents in really the ALDS now any confidence coming in. I think for the Yankees as well, you're also looking to fight with Cleveland for that number 1 seed in the AL. Of course, 3 games left for both of those teams, and the Yankees trying to clinch that as Cleveland has a tough series against Houston. Houston, not really much to play for except for who they play in the playoffs. So would they rather play the Yankees or would they rather play Cleveland? I mean, that's kind of where Houston's at right now. They're probably just going to put their best foot forward and see where they land and try and end the season on a hot one. But it's tough right now for the Yankees because Cleveland, yeah, they're right there. They're right on their toes. So the Yankees can't completely have any days off here. They're probably just going to put out their best guys. I think the good thing for the Yankees is now clinching this AL East. They have that period off after the season's over into the ALDS. Obviously have to wait for the winner in the wild card. So I'm looking at it for the Yankees right now. Great spot. Of course, they needed just 1 win against Baltimore, or 1 win for the rest of the season to clinch the East. But now the focus is on the next hurdle, and it's getting that number 1 seed, which would be absolutely huge for the Yankees. You don't want to have to. You'd rather face a wild card team rather than one of those teams in Cleveland or Houston, who have been feeling real good in the last couple of weeks or so. But the Yankees head into the series tonight, 7:05 start. It's Rodon and Jones on the mound. Tune in later for the Yankees regular season finale. As let's head into the other side of New York and head to Citi Field, where the New York Mets have not played in a couple of days. As last time we spoke on Wednesday, the Mets were getting ready for the last 2 games of their series against the Atlanta Braves, and 2 games postponed due to the hurricane down in Atlanta. And I mean, just a frustrating situation, I would say, for both teams, the Mets as well as the Braves, because they knew about this hurricane for days and days and days before it was coming to Wednesday where the Mets were going to take on the Braves in Atlanta, and the MLB did nothing about it until the afternoon on Wednesday. I think they really hurt both the Mets and the Braves. And yes, there's a wild card race where the Diamondbacks are not playing that well right now, but they did get a win against the Giants to get a game back, and now all of a sudden they're tied in the wild card with the Mets. But I look at it right now, and you say it just gives the Mets as well as the Braves a full disadvantage of making them play a 2-game set on Monday. And I'll get into those games on Monday, but I think the MLB really absolutely screwed up. They really screwed up here because now you put the Mets and the Braves both at a disadvantage versus a lot of those teams who finished their season on Monday. All of a sudden, the Mets and the Braves have to finish on Monday afternoon. 2 games, not just one, but 2 games. So really putting their guys out there and putting it all out there for a playoff spot, both of these teams. And yes, it obviously depends on the Diamondbacks, but I mean, both of these teams now on Monday have to, it most likely starts on Wednesday or Thursday, the postseason. That's a huge disadvantage for either the Mets or the Braves because they're both going to be in the wild card. Philly's going to clinch the division, and they're going to have to play 2 days later. So, I mean, you look at that, and it's very frustrating. I would be very frustrated as a Met or Braves fan because the MLB day after day knew about this and could have really tried to find a way to fit them in within 3 days, whether that's playing 2 on Tuesday and then 1 on Wednesday afternoon, early in the afternoon, so you don't really get into that weather in the evening. So I think it's a really bad look for the MLB right now, and I would say for any Mets or Braves fans, rightfully so, you should be angry, and the MLB has to figure out better ways in the future to deal with those kinds of things because it's hurting both of these teams, the Mets and the Braves, who are trying to clinch their spot in the postseason in this next series. So, I mean, the Braves take on the Royals now in Atlanta, and they were hoping that Kansas City would be able to even get to Atlanta with all the bad weather going on right now. We'll see how those games turn out as the Braves take on the Royals in a 3-game set at Truist Park. But the Mets now have to travel to Milwaukee, and they take on a Brewers team that has already clinched, that is almost, I think, clinched the 3 seed. I don't think they're there just yet, depending on the Dodgers as well as the Phillies. I think it's a 3-game difference right now, or 3.5-game difference. So they're still going to try and figure things out there. But most likely it's going to be the Brewers as the 3 seed, with Philly and the Dodgers just needing either none or one more win to get those top spots, the 1 and 2 seed in the NL. But for the Mets, they have Sean Manaea on the mound tonight against Frankie Montas, an 8-10 start in Milwaukee, and just not an easy series here because Milwaukee, although yes, they clinched their spot most likely as the 3 seed, I still believe that the Mets have to go against a hard lineup, a tough lineup in Milwaukee, and the Mets coming off that loss, they are fighting for that postseason spot, but you never know in these kinds of series. Milwaukee may not want to put their best guys out there, but they may do so as well because they have that gap now as NL Central champions. They then skip over the wild card and they move into the divisional series. So for that reason, Milwaukee may say, all right, we're going to send our best guys out there and kind of challenge this Mets team, maybe a team that they could see in the postseason. So for the Mets, they just got to put their best foot forward tonight. And I think getting this first win is so crucial. I think this win tonight decides how the rest of the series is going to go, because all of a sudden you're coming off the loss to Atlanta and everything that's happened in the last couple of days. If Milwaukee, who already clinched, is able to win tonight against Sean Manaea, with Sean Manaea on the mound, it just tells you that it could be a long couple days for the New York Mets, and maybe if Mania loses tonight, then they get two more tomorrow and the next day. But I think it's tough to look at this series and say, all right, well, the Mets coming in with a lot of confidence. Yes, they are. But if they drop one in the first game to Milwaukee with Mania on the mound, I think it's a hurtful one for the New York Mets. I think they got to win tonight. They're going up against Frankie Montas, like I said, hasn't been good this year. 7-11, 4.85 ERA, and a 137 WHIP. So I think for the Mets, you got to take advantage of the matchup here and hope the lineup wakes up as they take on the Brewers in Milwaukee. So a big one for the Mets, 8-10 start. Mets, Brewers, Mania, Montas on the mound. Mets need a big series here to continue to grind that way towards the NL wild card. Let's head into Thursday night football as the Dallas Cowboys defeated the New York Giants 20-15. And of course, the Giants came into this game 5.5-point underdogs. And if you're a Giants fan, a lot of them came in just not optimistic. They said, all right, well, we could lose here. Hopefully keep it close. Don't get absolutely trounced like last year's 40-0 on opening night. And if you're a Giants fan, I don't know how you can sit there and be truly unhappy with how the Giants performed. I think Daniel Jones had a really, really great game once again. Of course, the interception at the end, that really boosts the stat line in favor of the Cowboys defense. But take out the interception. 29 for 40 or 29 for 39, 281, no touchdowns. The no touchdowns, of course, is a problem, but one sack as well. Completely eliminated Micah Parsons. Andrew Thomas did on the offensive line. For the Giants, you look at Daniel Jones in this game and you say, well, that's back-to-back games that he's played really solid football. He's gotten the ball to his top guys, Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson. Of course, the story at the end of the game was Neighbors going out with a concussion. Now they have 10 days until their next one to really rest up Neighbors, who had an unbelievable game. Once again, 12 receptions, 115 yards, no touchdowns, but 15 targets. Talk about peppering your top guy once again. Malik Neighbors, 15 targets. And I also look at the second guy in the wide receiver room, Wan'Dale Robinson, who back-to-back weeks now with really solid outputs. And this one bigger than last week, definitely. 11 receptions, 71 yards, 14 targets for Wan'Dale Robinson. I don't think many expected that coming into this one. But the Giants threw the ball well. Daniel Jones had a solid game. He was able to get it to his weapons. And I think when you look at Wan'Dale Robinson, he's kind of become that more Rashee Rice type of player, that easy going possession wide receiver that Rashee Rice is to Patrick Mahomes. Wan'Dale Robinson is that for Daniel Jones, if I can find any comparison there. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, those 11 receptions just gives Daniel Jones comfort that he can check it down or he can go short to a wide receiver, whereas Neighbors, you're kind of looking for the big play as well as the plays on the sideline. And I mean, the flashiness of Malik Neighbors obviously stands out, but it just gives you a different look with Wan'Dale Robinson. And I think that could help the Giants in future weeks, really having that number two and giving Daniel Jones that second option. Nothing really happened in the run game for the Giants in this one. Really struggled to get Singletary going. He went out with a bit of an injury, then came back in, but 14 carries, 24 yards. Nothing that the Dallas Cowboys gave him on the ground. I think when you looked at it overall, you said, all right, well, back-to-back weeks where Dallas got trounced on the ground, Alvin Kamara, as well as then the pairing of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry the week after. They locked things down on Devin Singletary last night. Even Daniel Jones, 4 carries for just 3 yards. I think that stands out for Dallas, shows some improvement from the weeks before, and that could be a positive sign for the Cowboys in the future. But I would not be angry as a Giants fan this morning. I know you lost to the Cowboys. It's obviously their biggest rival, and the Cowboys have really just taken it to the Giants the last 10 years or so, and maybe even longer. But the Giants, 15 points on the board. That's not enough, of course, versus the Cowboys, but the offense looked solid. They just could not finish it in the end. I think when it comes down to the last drive and an interception from Jones late in the game, it tells you that it was a close game and the Giants had a real valiant effort in front of their home crowd. So a lot of positives to take for the New York Giants in this one. But on the other side, just quickly, Dak Prescott, I mean, with all the storylines out of the last couple of weeks, and is he the guy? Of course, the last couple of seasons have been the question mark. Gets that big contract at the beginning of this season. But when you look at Dak Prescott yesterday and the Cowboys just needing a win, save their season, and just everybody calm down in Dallas. Not just yet. Of course, it comes towards postseason time when the Cowboys fans really, truly wake up. But this one was a huge one on the road against a Giants team that you've pretty much trounced and pretty much embarrassed in years past. They needed a win big time, and Dak Prescott delivered. 22 of 27, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 1 sack. Perfect stat line. It doesn't need to be too much. It's not too little for Dak Prescott, and maybe you say, oh, well, he should be passing more. They controlled this game. They really did. They had control of this game, and I feel like for the Cowboys, you have to look at the positives and say, those are the kind of games, that's why we paid Dak Prescott, because 22 of 27 in a big game like that is not easy. Of course, against this Giants front, the best part of their defense, and just took care of the ball, Dallas did, and really tried to figure things out. He got it to his top weapon, CeeDee Lamb, 7 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, had that 55-yarder that really broke the game open for Dallas as the Giants looked to fight back after that. But they also had Jake Ferguson really involved, and it's kind of like that Wan'Dale Robinson for Daniel Jones. Dallas has that as their tight end in Jake Ferguson, that second option, that reliable guy that just gives the quarterback a little bit of comfort when they're in the pocket. They know they can go to that reliable weapon. Jake Ferguson, 7 receptions, 49 yards on 7 targets. So perfect, 100% every time he threw it to Jake Ferguson in this one. But a big game from Dak, like I said, and a lot of happy Cowboy fans that they won this game. Of course, there's a lot of work to do. They have a bit of a tougher schedule coming up. But I think if you're a Cowboy fan, you kind of just relax. You press the relax button, calm down, and you move on to next week as they get a solid win on the road against a hungry Giants team. The Cowboys move to 2-2. Giants move to 1-3. 20-15. The Cowboys win it on Thursday Night Football. As let's travel to the other side of MetLife, MetLife hosting 2 games in these next 3 days. Of course, they had the Giants last night. It's the Jets who will take on the Denver Broncos at MetLife Stadium on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Jets come in as 7.5-point favorites, and talked about this a couple days ago with Josh Mallett on. But I think for the Jets, you see the matchup against Denver, and it seems like one that you should just kind of breeze through. Denver's a hungry team coming off that win in Tampa Bay, and the defense has looked good. I think when you have a young quarterback like Bo Nix, you just have to focus on time and giving him the best possible opportunity to be comfortable. And I would say that Denver has done that so far. Obviously, the output is not exactly there just yet. Just no touchdowns on the board, no passing touchdowns for Bo Nix. And I think that's the one maybe worrying sign I would say is no touchdowns in the air, 4 picks overall. And yes, he's gone against some tougher defenses, Pittsburgh being one of them. But I think you just need to see a little bit more when it comes to the passing game, the completion percentage a little bit down, but he's young. He has a lot of time. I think for the Jets in this game, though, you see those little bit of problems for Bo Nix, and you kind of go after them if you're the Jets defense. Obviously, what Jets defense, arguably the top in the NFL. I think when you look at Bo Nix, it could be a long day for him. On the other side, though, Denver's defense has been really strong so far under the radar. They kind of beat up. They definitely beat up actually on Tampa Bay this past week. But they've gotten close to teams like Seattle as well as another team like Pittsburgh, who, yeah, their offenses are not in the best shape, but I mean, this Denver defense should not be doubted. And I think they go into this matchup with a lot of confidence. Like I said, after last week, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, I mean, it may not be the greatest day. They may rely more on Breece Hall and Braylon Allen to kind of get them over the line in this game. Of course, they're heavy favorites. You expect them to kind of comfortably win this one, but as a Jet fan, I don't know how comfortable it's going to be. It should be comfortable, 100%, but they really have to get to Bo Nix and make things really trouble for Bo Nix in this offense. On the other side, for Aaron Rodgers, it may not be the most high scoring day, and the low total kind of tells you about that 38.5. That just tells you it's great defense on both sides. Obviously, Denver and then the Jets now at home. But the Jets come in 7.5-point favorites. You would think the Jets would win this one, and I think they will, of course, in the end, get to Bo Nix and try and rattle him on the road against this Jets team. But the Jets come in, like I said, 7.5-point favorites. It's the Jets and the Broncos, a big game for Aaron Rodgers, kind of a statement game with all of the noise that came in last year from Sean Payton about Nathaniel Hackett and everything about the New York Jets. This is kind of the time to shine for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, a fully healthy Aaron Rodgers. Now you look at this roster, and I think it's a prove-it game for the Jets to try and move to 3-1. It's the 2-1 Jets, the 1-2 Broncos. That one on Sunday at 1 o'clock, taking place at MetLife. And let's finish things off with a little Sunday football preview, our first one of the year. Most weeks, I am going to pick 2 to 3 games from the weekend slate on Sunday to pick out and just have a little word about in the NFL. And this week, we're lucky enough that we have 3 great games. So I'm picking 3 this time. I look first at the Vikings taking on the Packers. And, of course, the question coming in is Jordan Love going to play? And obviously the Packers have been playing a bit of games with, I would say, the media and just figuring things out, maybe playing games with the opposing defense, not knowing who they're going to go up against in the upcoming week. Jordan Love's been limited in practice. We'll see what the status is today on Friday, but yesterday, Thursday, he was limited in practice. And I think it's more of a question mark whether he can get out of the pocket or really move the ball around or move himself around. And I don't think he'll be able to too much against this tight Minnesota defense, a tough one that they've built in Minnesota. The last couple of weeks have really proved that. 2 of the best offenses in the NFL, San Francisco, Houston, on the road back-to-back weeks. No problem for this Houston or for this Vikings defense, excuse me. I think they really figured things out heading into this week against the Packers, no matter who the quarterback is. The Vikings are feeling real good right now. And yes, they're not even 100% healthy. Jordan Addison has not played. Christian Darrisaw is questionable. I mean, they're missing Dalton Reisner, who's on IR. So I think when you look at it, even if they're not healthy, they are storming through their opponents, and a lot of confidence coming into this one. I think on the one side for the Vikings, I just see a free Aaron Jones game. Free Aaron Jones. The reunion, everything about it, he got cut. And it really, the Packers went to Josh Jacobs, and there's the debate of should they have kept Aaron Jones? Was he still fully healthy? The Packers just felt it was time to move on to the next guy. And they signed Josh Jacobs, of course, in free agency, but cut Aaron Jones, one of the players that's been there for a while and has been one of the greats in this Packer uniform for the last couple of years. I look at this game as quite the revenge game for Aaron Jones. And I think the Vikings will happily just give him the ball and say, take us to the promised land. Of course, Sam Darnold has looked really, really strong so far, but I think the Packers' weakness is their run defense versus their pass defense, where a lot of guys in the secondary, Jair Alexander, who's going to be on Justin Jefferson, most likely for the entire game this week. That's going to be a tough matchup for a guy like Jefferson, but he should be able to figure it out. I think they rely on Aaron Jones, like I said, and just give him the ball, say, take us to the promised land and free Aaron Jones. On the other side for the Packers, depending on the quarterback, I think if Jordan Love plays, the Packers obviously have a better chance in terms of he gives them a lot different from what Malik Willis can give them in the passing game, although Malik Willis has looked pretty solid in those 2 games that he's played so far. I think this is a different animal that he's going up against in the Vikings defense. So should be an interesting one to figure out who's the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Love or Willis, but we'll keep an eye on it. Vikings and Packers, 1 o'clock on Sunday. The next one that I'm going to look at is the New Orleans Saints in a huge, huge divisional matchup, taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Saints coming in at 2-1, as the Falcons coming in at 1-2. And 0-2 so far on their home field, coming off the loss to Kansas City last week. And, of course, the week 1 loss to Pittsburgh. They grabbed the big win in Philadelphia. Has not been an easy schedule so far for the Atlanta Falcons. On the other side, for the New Orleans Saints, coming off that loss to Philadelphia. So when you look at this game and the rivalry that comes with Saints-Falcons, I think the Falcons, you would say you're going back probably 8 years or so, or maybe even a little less than that. But the Saints have had, of course, the era and, of course, the Super Bowl in the end over the Falcons. And I feel like the Falcons, you would say their roster might be the most complete since really maybe the Drew Brees days. Of course, you look at the team that went to the Super Bowl for Atlanta, but I feel like this roster is just completely built up. The Falcons have done a great job of mixing and matching and finding the right schemes and finding the right players under Raheem Morris. And I'm going to actually look at the Falcons to win this game. It's at home. They have confidence coming off of that close loss to Kansas City. I think when you look at that game and say, how can you be happy about it? The Falcons look pretty darn solid in that game. They really tested the Chiefs, and it just came down to the last couple of plays. Of course, Kansas City able to kneel on it in the end, but it came down to the ball in Kirk Cousins' hands, and it just did not work out for them. I look at this game against the Saints, and the Saints coming off that loss to Philadelphia. Although the Saints looked really good in weeks 1 and 2, Carolina and Dallas, I'm going to pick the Falcons in this one. I think the Falcons look like a complete offense right now, and they're working on things with Kirk Cousins. They look good. And I even look at a guy like a Darnell Mooney, who really just gives Kirk Cousins a second option behind Drake London, as well as his other targets in Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. I think Darnell Mooney has a nice, solid game in this one against a tough Saints defense. I'm looking at the Falcons, though, to win this one on their home field. And finally, the last one, and oh boy, is it a good one, as the Buffalo Bills take on the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football. What a matchup here in the AFC. Bills coming in at 3-0. Ravens coming in at 1-2. Both teams coming off wins as the Bills trounced Jacksonville 47-10. Ravens coming off a big-time win on the road in Dallas, 28-25. For the Ravens, you're looking at this game and saying, yeah, all right, well, the Bills are a real tough opponent, and we have not started off the season as we would have wanted to. Of course, the Ravens hoping to get another AFC North crown and try and challenge for a Super Bowl once again. But this quarterback matchup is big time here. And I think when you look at how well the Bills offense is moving right now, it's hard to sit here and say, oh, well, the Ravens should comfortably stop them on defense or really limit this offense. This Buffalo offense is rolling right now. And I know you look at the matchups and you say, well, Arizona, Miami, Jacksonville, not the best defenses, not the worst defenses as well. Jacksonville and Miami have better defenses than people think, even after those games against the Bills. But the Bills come into this one, a lot of confidence, coming off 3 straight wins. I think it's a big time win for the Bills coming because even though they're going on the road, Baltimore, yes, they've not looked great. And yeah, confidence coming off that win in Dallas. I don't see a way where this Bills offense can be stopped right now. The Bills come in with a ton of confidence off those wins, a bunch of points put up on the board, 34, 31, 47 points, 3 straight games. And I know it's on the road, and Baltimore is one of the top defenses in the NFL, although they have not looked like that so far this year. On the road, Buffalo, I'll take Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson right now because this Bills offense, even with the losses in the offseason and all the noise coming in from the outside, they looked very, very good. They look very, very solid on offense as well as defense. So for a Ravens offense that you would say, all right, hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, try and give some different looks. They barely get Mark Andrews involved, it seems the Ravens do, and focus more on Zay Flowers and this run game with the dynamic duo of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. In the end, Buffalo just looks like the better team, and there's no way that I can sit here and pick against the Buffalo Bills going on the road, even though it's Sunday Night Football and the Bills come in as underdogs. Give me Josh Allen and the Bills on Sunday night. Big matchup for them. Big prove it game. Is this 3-0 start really true here? Or is it going to go against the top teams and are the Bills going to struggle against those top teams in the AFC? But I mean, it should be an interesting one, Sunday Night Football. But that'll do it for episode 3 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malamuth. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the football. Talk to you on Monday.